guys, so I'm here today to do my January book haul. In this video I'm showing you all the books I bought new or was sent for review. If you remember, earlier this month I did do my first book haul of the year, which included review books, new books and second-hand books, whereas usually I divide those up a little bit more. That was because I was in Edinburgh and I was just showing you I had access to in Edinburgh. However, I did acquire books in December that I wasn't able to show you because I filmed my book haul in Edinburgh and they were still in London, and then I've acquired some more books since I've returned to London, so these are all of those books, and I will catch up with you with sort of like second-hand and library books in February. But with that said, I'm going to start with the 5 books I think I said that I bought myself in the last sort of 2 months I haven't already shown you. First up are 2 books that I bought in December, and they were in the Verso Christmas sale. So Verso is one of my favourite non-fiction publishers. They are absolutely incredible. I've read some incredible books by them over the years, and every December they have 50% off site-wide. All of their books are discounted half price and it's incredible. I always have to pick up sort of 2 for myself, and that's what I did again this year. First of all, we have Inside This Place Not Of It, Narratives from Women's Prisons. This is a collection of essays written by various different women who have been through the incarceration system. So some of them I think are still in prison, some of them were in prison in the past and are no longer there, and it deals specifically with like women's experiences of the justice and incarceration system, and all within the US, just in case you were wondering. I think it ranges from topics to racism to sexism and like the medical treatment in these facilities. I would imagine if it's about the US incarceration system, it'll deal with the sort of side effects of a privatised prison system, which is quite common throughout the US. The justice system is basically a massive mess, and it's something I'm continually trying to educate myself about, and I wanted to read something that was very contemporary, had come out quite recently, and dealt with women's experiences, because I think a lot of what I read and hear about does deal specifically with men's experiences, because more men are in prison than women, but that doesn't mean there aren't like unique issues to female incarceration that are important to address. This book came out in 2017, published by Verso. This book came out in 2017, so like I said, a little bit more contemporary than some of the stuff I've read in the past, and I'm really looking forward to just educating myself a little bit more on that topic, because we're still on Verso. I then bought another non-fiction book, which is Rape from Lucretia to #MeToo by Mithu Sanyal. As a lot of you are aware, I'm currently studying for a PhD in classics. I look at ancient Greek history, but I specifically research issues of sexual abuse. So I do find myself reading a lot about the issue of rape throughout history and contemporary books, both because of like my research, but also because it's a really like contemporary issue that needs to be talked about, and I thought this sounded like an interesting perspective to go all the way back to a sort of ancient example to the contemporary world. I then picked up 3 books in the past few weeks. 2 I actually picked up right at the beginning of the year while I was still in Edinburgh, and the first one is a poetry collection that is And Then She Ate Him by Tom Denby. I haven't read this one yet, although I plan to pick it up ASAP, but I know that it deals with themes of queerness and mythology, so I am so here for that. It sounds brilliant. I mean, the first collection in this book is called Siren, so I am so excited for this and hopefully discover a sort of new favourite poet. We then have 2 fiction books. The one I picked up in Edinburgh is The Birth Grave by Tanith Lee. I've never read anything by Tanith Lee before, but she's quite a well-known like classic fantasy author. I think she's got tons and tons of books. This was her debut though, I think, and it first came out in 1975, so yeah, she's been writing for a long time and she has a big back catalogue, and I wanted to finally check something out by her. So I picked this up in Transreal Books, which is a specialist science fiction fantasy bookshop in Edinburgh that I would highly encourage you to check out if you're there. And I'm just really excited to finally read something by this author. It looks very dark fantasy, and the blurb suggests that as well. It says, a mysterious woman awakens in the heart of a dormant volcano. Shepherded into rebirth by a terrifying entity named Caracas, she has no memory of herself but is offered a choice: remain in eternal darkness or begin a cursed life above. Emerging into a culturally devastated and brutal world, she embarks on a journey of discovery, Despite the ruthless fate foretold by Caracaz and the dark heritage she may be forced to accept. Inexplicably compelled to seek out a strange object she knows only as Jade, she could be anyone: mortal woman, demoness lover, fierce sorceress, last living heir to a long-gone race, or a goddess of destruction. She chooses to be all. Like I mentioned, dark fantasy sounds great. And then I also picked myself up a contemporary romance book, which is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. I mentioned this one in the 10 books top of my wish list video I filmed earlier this month, and loads of you said I would enjoy this. If I was interested in it, I should pick it up. And after having just read some other contemporary romances and really enjoyed them, I just felt like, yes, now was the time. This one also has a curvy main character, which is something I've been looking for in my romances. And I do believe I said in that earlier video that it's set in the US. It's not, it's set in the UK. I don't know where I got that impression from before. We follow our protagonist Chloe Brown, who deals with chronic pain on a daily basis and has made a list of things that she wants to do, and then enlists her male neighbour in completing them, and obviously I imagine they develop a relationship while she's doing these things. But yeah, I've heard great things and I'm really excited to finally have a copy. We then have the books I was sent for review. So the first one of those is more of a pamphlet than a full-length book, but that is A Year in Poetry 2019 from Faber and Faber. Faber and Faber publish a lot of poetry, and this is a collection of some of their favourite poems from the full-length collections they've published throughout 2019, so from different poets. And I thought this was really nice when I got this in the post, because obviously it gives you an opportunity to try like one poem from lots of different poets, some of whom I've maybe never tried before, and therefore might find myself interested in checking out more by. We have Rachel Allen, Lavinia Greenlaw, Frederick Seidel, Julia Copus, Joe Dunthorne, Simon Armitage, Hugo Williams, Ilya Kaminsky, Mary Jean Chan, Christopher Reid, Zafar Kunal, and Paul Muldoon. Only 3 of whom I think I have ever read before, so I'm hoping I will find some new poets from this little collection. We then have 2 more short books, which are these from Myriad's Spotlight collection. So these editions are books published by Myriad by authors that perhaps have underrepresented voices within literature, and it's all about promoting those voices. They have various different ones available, and these were the 2 that I was particularly interested in. So we have The Haunting of Strawberry Water by Tara Gold, which says a new mother in the throes of postnatal depression tries to come to terms with being abandoned as a baby by the mother she never knew. Set in a mysterious 1920s country bungalow overlooking a fast-flowing river, supernatural forces begin to take hold in this gripping and heart-rending tale of the uncanny. We then have one where like the title kind of gives away why I was interested in it, and that's Stroking Cerberus, Poems from the Afterlife by Jacqueline Haskell. So this one is prose and this one is poetry, and this one reads: mythical dogs, the dead who mourn the living, and the sorrows of those reincarnated join hands around Jacqueline Haskell's unique and very personal poetic Ouija board to resonate with the living, the dead, and all those in between. As forcible as they are humorous, these are poignant and thought-provoking poems. So again, I feel that these are excellent opportunities for me to try some new writers, whether they be writing in prose or poetry, and hopefully share with you some recommendations of some underrepresented voices. In fact, while I'm on the topic of Myriad, I do have one more book from them, which is this collection of illustrations by Olivia Kugler entitled Escaping Wars and Waves: Encounters with Syrian Refugees. The reason I was particularly interested in this is because I actually went to see an exhibit over a year ago, I think it was, at the House of Illustration here in London, which is a small art gallery, and that exhibition was all about refugees and art by refugees and of the refugee struggle, and some of the art on display was by this illustrator, and this collects all of the work they did around refugees together. So for example, it's just kind of like an insight into what it's like in refugee camps, lots of all the details that they picked up on and all the information that they learned about the people they were meeting. So here's another little sample of that. I think this is a really insightful look into a human experience. It's incredibly horrific, and we should all be talking about and looking to sort of help people with. And I think the illustrator has a really unique way of exploring that topic, so I'm really glad to have a copy of their illustrations. We then have The Stars We Steal by Alexa Dawn, which I have seen described as The Bachelor set in space, which doesn't mean that much to me because I've literally never seen an episode of The Bachelor in my life, but I get the concept, right? It's a dating show. And I don't read a ton of science fiction, but it's something I'm always interested in discovering more of, especially when it's getting really good reviews like this one is. So Titan offered to send me a copy and I could not say no. It's all about 18-year-old Princess Leonie, who is heir to a faded European spaceship and therefore, I believe, decides to start this competition to find a husband in order to save her family from financial ruin, and that just sounds so funny and interesting, and I'm really intrigued by this. From YA science fiction to YA fantasy, we have Thorn by Intisar Kanani, and this was sent to me by Hotkey. This one is actually a proof. It comes out in March 2020, and it's a retelling of the Goose Girl fairy tale from the Grimm's Brothers, which I've never read a retelling of before. Like, I've read versions of that fairy tale as a child, and now that I think about it, I've read some short story collections that have had versions of Goose Girl in them, but I have not read like a full-length novel retelling, and I think that that's a lot of fun. I love finding fiction that retells fairy tales I don't see retold a lot, and as you can probably guess if you know the Goose Girl story, it's about a princess whose identity is switched on a journey to her betrothed. So our princess in this instance is actually not very well loved by her family. It sounds like quite an abusive household, but when she is betrothed to a prince from another land, it could be an opportunity for an escape, or it could just be a move to a new kind of version of hell. But all of that's turned on its head when her identity is switched mid-journey, and other than that I don't know much, but it sounds excellent and I'm really glad to have a proof. Then back to the non-fiction portion of this video, we have Seduction, A History from the Enlightenment to the Present by Clement Knox. This is another proof. This one comes out on the 2nd of April and it's published by Pegasus Books. Now again, I've always had an interest in topics like this. I actually wrote my undergraduate dissertation on a very similar topic to this, however in antiquity, whereas this is obviously much more recent history. But if I'm interested in a topic, I quite enjoy reading about it throughout history so I can compare for myself. So how could I say no when the publishers offered me a copy? And if you're interested, the first sentence of the blurb reads, moving from the Garden of Eden to the carnivals of 18th century Venice, and from the bawdy world of Georgian London to the saloons and speakeasies of the Jazz Age, Seduction is an exploration of timeless themes of power, desire and free will. Also non-fiction, but a very different kind of non-fiction, is a cookbook. This is Veganish by Jack Monroe. I love Jack Monroe. She is a chef and she's published quite a few cookbooks with Bluebird now, which is an imprint of Pan Macmillan, all of which are brilliant. This title I feel like is very appropriate to me because I'm a vegetarian who tries to stay away from dairy on a daily basis, so I'm kind of vegan-ish, but not really vegan. They are all, however, vegan recipes. I think the title just comes from the fact that Jack herself isn't fully vegan, but she cooks all the things in this book and they're all 100% vegan, and like this little yellow bar down here says don't cost the earth, because obviously one of the benefits of a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet and various other iterations like that is that it's better for the environment. I've had great success with Jack Monroe's cookbooks in the past, so I'm really excited to have another one of those. Here's an insight into what you can get inside. That looks delicious. I want that now. So thank you so much to Pan Macmillan for sending that to me. Then last but not least, we have a picture book full of facts, which I'm so excited about, and that's Why Do Dogs Sniff Bottoms? Illustrated by Lily Snowdon Fine, with dog expert Dr. Nick Crumpton supplying the facts. And if you know me, and if you knew me as a child in particular, you would know I love animal fact books. Like, animal fact books were my go-to books as a little kid. Any book that was sort of like this big and full of pictures and information about animals, I adored. So I am so excited about this. I think this seems like the kind of thing a child would absolutely adore, so I want to support it, knowing my own experience, but I'm also intrigued to learn a little bit about dogs myself. That looks like my dog growing up. But yeah, I think this is absolutely lovely. The illustration is absolutely lovely, and you know, maybe I'm going to have some really pressing questions answered about dogs. But those are all the books I had to show to you in this video. Let me know if you have read or are interested in reading any of them. Love talking to you about what I've acquired and what I plan on reading, so do leave a comment. But until next time, happy reading, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye guys!